exciting. Hi, everyone.
Okay, hello. Some familiar faces from the session that was just
Hello.
in. I can see already.
Hey, Shari. Some familiar faces from Butter users as well. That's really cool. And the community.
Nice.
I'll
If you have
get
your camera
settled
on,
on
you're
top of
welcome
it.
to wave to everybody else. Welcome them here.
Hello. Okay. While we're welcoming more people, I know we're already running into time and it is a packed and back-to-back day. So I'm going to get right on to it. Thank you for being with us. It's been such a joyful day for us at Butter HQ so far because of Scene and Scenes and the launch of our new product called Scenes. And without crying, without tearing up, we're all really grateful for the support that you've shown so far and for being with us to celebrate the launch of our new product and being here with us for Jan's session as well. So just for quick for those of you who just joined, this is your first session for today. Scene and Scenes is our 24-hour learning festival that's meant to celebrate the launch of Scenes, our new product, which mixes presentation, whiteboarding, and also engagement tools right within one flow. Like you'll see the magic of it later. Jan's done a lot when it comes to how to stretch that our tool for us. And on top of that, and on top of launching that product, and obviously you can use it with Zoom. But on top of that, we're also launching it on Product Hunt. So any support from your end after the session would really mean a lot. And I also do hope you continue to join us from session to session when you have the time. Jan is obviously an engagement specialist, and he actually has prepared a lot of for us today in terms of coaxing out and engaging people who are a bit more introverts. So he himself is a bit of an introvert. It doesn't seem like it if you follow him on LinkedIn, but hopefully throughout the session today, we get a lot of tips from him in terms of engaging everyone and also making sure that we're creating more inclusive spaces. And in the same way, also, we'd love to hear from you and also your own experience and techniques in terms of coaxing people out. And without further ado, Jan, it's your show. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, and welcome everyone. I know if you've been part of this whole Butter Scenes launch, you were maybe in another session just until a minute ago. And you might already know the drill, but if this is your first Butter Scenes session, I'm very excited to showcase and use this new tool. And for this, I'm going to share a link in the chat. But also I'm going to show a QR code on the screen in a moment if you prefer to use it on your phone, because I want to check in with you on the topic of today's session and find out how skilled you think you are at engaging everyone. So not just the kind of regulars that always raise their hand, but also the quiet ones that might not be as engaged in your session. And the scale that I put together is a couple of different movie and TV show characters, from Mr. Bean on the left, who doesn't really know what he's doing and like things go wrong all the time, and he doesn't really have a plan, to the other end on the right here, Master Yoda, who's can deal with any situation. It's almost like magic. People just want to engage. So if you had to check in on the scale, kind of like from 1 to 5, where would you put yourself? And once you answer, or once you click into this image, you will be asked a question to answer why did you pick this one. This is actually one of my favorite features in the new Butter tool to help create some engagement, because it's the follow-up question often that is more interesting than the first question. So I'm just going to have a look at some of the things that have been shared here from the people who've submitted something already, if I can see it. Enthusiasm, great. I know a bit, but need to learn a little bit more. Same thing for Chris, can learn a little bit more, right? So we have a bunch of people here in the middle, which is great. Way too excited sometimes, like Elf. Thank you for that, Cheska. All right. Well, there's a lot of people in the middle. There's some people kind of tending towards the right side, which is also really great because there will be a couple of chances for you to also share your tips and your advice. One thing that I want to make sure with this session actually is that I'm not just giving you, well, here's the 3 things you can do, but to create a bit of an experience. If you were just in Romy Alexandra's session, which was all about experiences, this will be a chance for you to see this in action as well. My intention is that maybe about 40% of the session will be experiencing things, but also running some experiments of things that I've never done before. And knowing that all of you facilitate and lead groups, I'm assuming let's just make sure you have my back. Is that okay? Give me like a reaction, give me a thumbs up if you're like, we're gonna try something together. If it fails, you have my back. We'll all learn something together. Amazing. I see some of the reactions coming in Butter and Zoom. And the second thing that I'm hoping is that by the end of this workshop, there's a couple of things that you will take away from this. Number one is you will understand who are the quiet people that I've been talking about and what is holding them back from participating. And then, of course, you should have some tangible strategies in your tool belt so you can invite participation from everyone. And my goal, again, is you will figure out more than 3 things, hopefully just by watching what I'm doing in the session. And at the end, if you haven't figured out anything, I'm still going to give you at least 3 things that you can use. Okay, so that's the plan. Ideally, you figure it out yourself. But if you need some additional tips, I will give them to you at the end. And if anybody here is not seeing me nice and big, especially when I'm sharing some text next to me, you can always go to the top right and click view and then choose speaker view. That way you should see me nice and big. So I said I want to make this interactive. So for this first activity that we're going to start with, I am actually going to be looking for a couple of volunteers in a moment. No need to raise your hand yet. Let me explain what I actually need from you. I want to simulate what happens when a group tackles a problem together and we have different personalities in the room trying to collaborate, right? A very common thing if you're running any workshops or trainings, you often get a mixed group, different backgrounds, different cultures, different generations, different personality types that need to collaborate somehow. So I want to create this a little bit of a simulation that hopefully we can get some lessons from. For this, I will probably need about 5 people who are going to volunteer and do the most experiencing in this activity. But I will also need maybe around 3 people who are going to be my extra set of eyes and help me observe what's actually happening. And then everybody else, you're also observing. I might not check in with you personally, but the 3 observers, I would actually love to hear their thoughts once we complete the little activity. So if you're a person that usually is ready to raise your hand and always like, I'm the first one to volunteer, I'm going to pause you for just a moment because I'm actually curious to see if we can find, again, some of the people that are like, ooh, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not ready yet, for them to raise their hand first. And if nobody shows up, those people who are like eager to participate, you can still raise your hand. Does that sound like a good plan? If you have your camera on, give me a head nod. If you don't have the camera on, you can use the reaction buttons. Send me some reactions that way. For the volunteers, I'm going to invite you to click the raise hand button. I'm going to see if there's 5 people that we can find. And if you'd like to be an observer, I'd like you to just write the word observer into the chat. And then I know who to choose from. Okay, we got a couple of observers already. Amazing. And a bunch of people sitting on their hands. All right, let's see if anybody's willing to join me here. Okay, I got Teresa and Craig. Okay, who else? Cheska is raising her real hand. Perfect. Barbara. Maybe one more person. Kate. Perfect. First of all, big round of applause from everybody who didn't volunteer for our volunteers. I'm going to bring you all up onto our stage here one by one. So that's just going to take me a moment. And then I will explain to you what we'll be doing. And the important thing here is, hold on, Jessica, don't forget you. The important thing here is we're going to use Butter Scenes for this because that's the product that we want to talk about today. Everybody who is also watching, who is on Butter Scenes, you will be able to move things around, but I'm going to invite you to not mess with the setup. That's the only thing that I will need to make sure that we're all on the same page for this to work. So let me share just quickly how the activity is going to work. I'm going to show you an example, and then you can just kind of jump into it. And it would be good if for that part you'll all go off mute so you can actually communicate and talk to each other. All right. So let me move over to this next example. So in this example, you'll see there's a bunch of different post-it notes, and they have different words, but they're all connected in some way, right? So we got man and power, which together would make manpower. We got power and plant, which together makes a power plant. We got plant and food makes plant food. Food and chain makes food chain. Chain and mail makes chain mail. And then mail goes back to the beginning and connects to man. So we have the mailman. So it kind of each word connects to the next. And on the next slide, I have a lot more words. And I would love for you to work together in figuring out how all of those words are connected. And you feel free to move things around on the board and see what happens. Okay, I see Barbara has just left. Barbara, are you coming back? Because we're going to get started in a moment. Okay, you're still here. Perfect. All right, I'm going to move on to the next. And just a quick thumbs up from my volunteers. You all are on the board, right? I want to make sure that I'm going to set you up for success. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move over to the next one. And I'm going to remove myself from this view and just let you get started. Okay. And good luck. I'll actually give you 5 minutes for this.
Okay. Are we supposed to talk to each other or just
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Figure
So
it out.
is it
how
just
to solve
is
this.
it just going to be like one long line, or are we doing multiple lines here?
Multiple lines. What's the
Multiple lines.
instructions or guidelines?
We got blockbuster.
Doorbell.
The dream team.
I'm just shouting something.
Wormhole. No.
Doorbell.
Team building.
Team building, definitely. Team building, yeah. Dream team definitely works.
Yeah.
Game day. Is there?
Blockbuster
arrows
bar.
would be good, no?
where's the bell?
Scotch.
Tape.
There was bell scotch. Oh, Scotch tape, true.
Yeah.
Scotch tape definitely works.
Where are you now, Craig? Okay, wait.
Yeah,
Scotch
there you
tape
go.
and bell
Scotch
scotch.
tape.
Is it one long line? Or...
Okay, that is all we try.
There's chaos.
And you just tell us if you're in the middle line,
Fine.
the upper line, or in the lower line.
Let's do the middle line so it's easier, no? Or no?
Dream day? Dream day? I know.
Game day is
Daydream.
here.
What about bellhop?
Hey.
Is that a thing?
Bellhop is a thing, yes.
Yeah.
Wormhole.
Daydream,
does
yeah.
Worm connect
Dream
to...
team go off. Oh, hello.
Oh, perfect.
Daydream and then
Building.
team build.
Daydream. Okay, let's put a bit of space there.
Yeah.
Hop. Hop bar, no.
Because Scotch tape and then tapeworm.
Bar hop? Isn't that a thing?
Bar hop. Did you say an opener? Yeah, bar hop should be, no? Is this bar? Wait, which line are we at now?
What goes after building?
bar.
Building.
Team,
Okay,
building block.
Building
Yeah.
block. Building
I think
block,
we're
yeah,
almost
yeah, yeah.
there. Okay, we just need to connect everything.
Blockbuster, yeah.
Then we're going back.
And Buster. Buster.
Punch bell. No, sorry. What?
what can go after Buster?
Punch bowl. Can't you have a bowl? Punch bowl? Does that work?
Yeah. But is bowl connected to anything now? Or-
bowl. There it is.
Yeah, their punch bowl, then we move it. What was earlier? There was something
Hop
connected
bell, or
to-
was it bellhop?
Yeah, bellhop. But then what was bell connected to?
What would that be?
Barbell. So we got barbell.
Barbell and
Yeah.
What is
Perfect.
Buster.
Muscle barbell, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you have about 2 minutes left.
And then
Are we
No.
meant to connect it all in one single line, or
I think
it's
so.
cool
We
to,
have
like,
to make a big
crazy
circle.
lines?
It has to be a circle.
A circle.
Yeah, the other one was a
circle.
circle.
Okay.
The last one
Right.
connects to the first one again.
But
Oh,
visually it's a line.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be a line, but I mean,
But the first and the
Hole,
last.
hole punch. Hole punch.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
hole punching paper. So
Punch.
hole punch.
Yeah. But then it goes
Hole
Hole-
punch.
hole punch and then punch
it's
bowl.
punch hole, but it's meant to be in a circle / square, or no?
And
It'll
then
be a
bowl
straight
game.
line.
Is that a bowl game? Bowl game? Is that some or Buster game? No. Buster bar.
So game.
Bowl dream? No.
Bell, barbell. With this bar game, day bar, no. Dream. Anything
Okay,
can
what-
connect with bar, right? Technically. Anything with that?
What goes after bowl?
We don't know.
Could be bowl game because
Bowl game, yeah.
game bowl, but bowls.
Oh.
for day? For game?
And then
Game.
daydream.
Daydream.
Dream
Okay.
And
team.
then that whole
And
Dream
then
team.
we just, yeah, that whole line, up. Okay, let's just move everything. But then we're in a line.
And then bar was
again.
there. And then does Buster Buster bar? Is that a thing?
Buster bowl.
Bar buster? No, bar buster does not sound
Okay.
right.
No,
Time's up.
All right, your time is
Did we-
up.
we did it.
But before we do anything, can we, everyone, give a huge round of applause to our volunteers? You were like this close in finishing it. But what I would love to know before I check in with everybody that participated is go to our observers and just want to check in. Who said observers? So we got Krishna, Carla, Christopher, Darwin, Marlana. If any of you would like to just tell me what did you notice? What happened? If you just describe without coming up with like solutions or things that they could have done better, just describe what you actually noticed.
It was interesting, like it was chaos at first, just straight into actions. There were a few permission questions like, are we allowed to talk? Should it be one line? But they were all left unacknowledged. And then it just went straight into action. And at about 4 minutes left, the energy was really chaotic. And then it settled. And then they started talking to each other, which was really interesting. The energy shifted quite a bit. Cheska asked the whole, should it be one line question 3 times? And it was only answered the 3rd time when that energy had gone down. And then it went into participation where there was, like 2 minutes left, it settled. So real shift in energy.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good observing. Good job. Thank you so much for sharing those things. I'm curious if for the other observers, if you have something to add to that. You can unmute, and then that way I'll be able to find you here or raise your hand, whatever you prefer. Also see Christopher said in the chat, a sense of feeling each other out and looking for a role in the collaboration. Yeah. For everyone else who was just watching what was unfolding and you didn't have an observer role, I would love for you to also share something in the chat. Anything specific that you've noticed about the group dynamics. And then I would love to check in with the group itself. Okay, there were a few people who took the lead and others followed. It felt like a dance. Oh, what kind of dance? Like a good dance, like partners that dance well together, or like a bunch of people dancing on the dance floor, all in their own style. People willing to start talking right away. I don't think anyone was paying attention to the other members of the team who weren't participating. And then everybody had an opportunity to participate. So there's different observations already in the chat from the group. Okay, for my volunteers, is there anything that you noticed? Again, we're not necessarily approaching this activity as, oh, this is how we could have done better. Just like, how did it feel for you in being thrown into this group of random people and given a challenge?
Yeah, it definitely felt chaotic to begin with. We all kind of jumped in, moving stuff around. One person would move one, and then that would move somewhere else, and it was all like a bit all over the place.
And I think I had a bit of a guilt because I wasn't there in the first seconds, although I had my Bluetooth, so I was following instructions, but still I was missing the visual. And so I felt like I could not ask for more help because I didn't come late, but because I was here in time, right? But I sort of was late.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt left out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I struggled at the beginning to kind of like get the words in like together. Like it felt like, wait, I need a moment to figure out, to read all the words before everything starts moving. And then everything was moving. I was like, okay. I guess the feeling was a bit annoying at the beginning. I was annoyed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
wasn't
thank you for that.
necessarily annoyed, but I felt it was a bit chaotic at the start. We weren't clear on like who does what we're gonna do, what's your game plan. And we didn't really align, which is all like after sort of sensing each other out, we all jumped straight into action. So you could see people were doing different things at different times. But then eventually it sort of melded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Kate, do you have something else to add?
I agree. The chaos was, and I think at the beginning also of like not knowing who, because I just met everybody. It's you don't know whose name is whose voice, and you're not really sure what's going on, and trying to match up that as well was like trying to figure out who's working with me, who's an observer, whose a cursor is just covering it, and I need to know what that word is. And I think that something about the time limit kind of felt like it was a pressure to, instead of taking a breath and talking together, we like jumped straight in.
Yeah. Somebody every now and then kept saying like 1 minute left, or it's like,
That was me.
what?
I was trying to
I
add a
heard
little
that
bit
one.
more pressure to the simulation, as in real life, I think there are deadlines, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone for participating in this and having a bunch of other people observe what you were doing. Again, I think you did a really good job. You were very close to solving it in 5 minutes. I wasn't sure if that would be possible. So you almost proved me wrong. So let me make sure, here, let me remove all of your spotlights for a second, because what I would love for everyone in the chat to share is, especially if you weren't participating, did you see a connection that the team hasn't found yet while you were just kind of paying attention to it? Was there anybody who was like, oh, these two things go together, but they haven't seen it yet? Looks like, okay, I see a yes. Stefan says, I was really stressed, wanted to shout out, right? In this case, there were people in the audience who like had something to share, but I didn't really say it, but the rules were only the people who are volunteering can participate. And I don't know if it would have made it easier if everybody in the audience also started shouting, right? But I think what I also noticed is that there were people like 5 different personalities, right? And some people maybe spoke a lot more than others, and at one point it got more balanced, and at other points it was like very one person talking. And to me, again, this is a simulation of what usually happens when we bring people together. There's always some people who kind of are showing up more than others. My question to you is, what are we actually missing out on if we don't hear from the quiet voices, if we only let the loud people, the people who would have volunteered first, if only those got to participate, got to engage? And for this, I'm going to move ahead to the next part in our butter scenes. I'm going to share the link again. Would love for you to just take a minute and write down a couple things. What are we missing out on? I'll put a 1-minute timer on here. Just write down a couple of things. All right, I see that there's a lot of comments that are similar that are showing up here already. Let me see if I can make those a bit bigger for us. And skip this. So I can definitely see different perspectives. I can see maybe missing out on the possible or the right solution. Probably a creative solution from another mind, the diversity, extra input that could that can perfect the existing answers. Right, so there definitely is a reason why we want to make sure that we include all of the voices, right? I think we all agree on that. The question now becomes, yeah, like what can we do to get them in? I actually found this or created this little graph that also explains what you were just sharing in Butter Scenes, that the loud people in the session are often just like the tip of the iceberg that we see. And at the bottom, this is where that one quiet person with a great idea could be hiding. Now, if you lead any trainings, meetings, workshops, very likely, I'm almost 100% certain, you've had some people in your session that were quiet. But when I say quiet, I'm not even sure if we're talking about the same person. I think when you picture a quiet person, and maybe you should just share in the Zoom chat, like what first comes to mind? If I say the quiet people, who were you thinking this session is going to be about? Okay, I'm reading silent people, right? Introverts, lurkers, thinkers, introverts, thoughtful, reserved, people who don't find joy in conflict, more reserved, shy. Right, if I'm looking at this list, I want to say most of them are probably personality traits, which there are certain things that we as facilitators, as leaders, can't really do anything about. Like we can't change somebody's personality type. But there's probably things that we can do. Yet there's the one thing that I feel like often gets misunderstood, which is the introverts. If you're an extrovert, can you wave into the camera if you would consider yourself an extrovert? Yeah, I'm not going to ask that from the introverts because they would not possibly not necessarily raise their hand and tell me. But I think although this is funny, this is misunderstanding the concept between introverts and extroverts. So I created a little interactive poll on Butter Scenes that hopefully will give you a chance to check in with yourself where you would put yourself. And I see a bunch of people already putting some pins on that screen that goes from draining to energizing. But I actually don't want you to put anything yet because we'll be moving your spot around in a little bit. I'm going to give you a couple of different activities. And based on the activity, I want you to check in with yourself. Does this activity at the end make me feel energized, more energized than before, or do I feel more drained than before? And again, it's a spectrum, so you can also be right in the middle. Does that make sense? Give me a quick thumbs up, head nods, amazing. All right, the first one is, let's imagine you're attending a very lively networking event where you don't know anyone yet. At the end of the night, would you feel energized or drained? Okay, I'm loving how this is a very divided group. Oh, hold on. All right. You're welcome to move your spot around now, but just pay attention kind of where are you moving based on the activities, okay? Next one is going to a karaoke night with friends and performing a song. At the end of the night, more energized, more drained, or somewhere in the middle. Okay, thanks for the feedback on the view. You're always welcome to check the link and look at what's happening on there also in the Butter Scenes, because I know there's a bunch of smaller information on here. Okay, but I see we're like splitting a little bit more into like two camps. Okay, how about facilitating a team building workshop for a team of 40 people? Would you at the end feel more energized or more drained? Okay, we're moving around a little bit more. Now it feels very spread even. How about hosting a dinner party for a small group of your neighbors? Okay, I feel like a few people left the draining part, but that also, like with everything, it depends. If your neighbors are nice, this might be energizing. If they're not, that might be really draining, right? Everything depends. How about running the New York City Marathon? Drained or energized? Okay, we got a lot of people who moved all the way to the left right now, which makes sense, but we still have a bunch of people who are on the right side. Okay, how about going on a hike with a small group? Like hike through the forest with a small group. Oh, we're moving. I feel like almost the majority is moving to the right. How about spending an afternoon at a local cafe catching up with a friend? Oh, wow. Now we're getting a lot of people energized, but there's still some people who are all the way on the left, which is totally okay. And thanks if you are feeling like a little bit left out of the group and you're very far away from everyone else. Thank you for your courage and checking in honestly, because that is not an easy thing to do. So I got two more. Folding laundry while you watch your favorite Netflix show. Okay, we're spreading apart a little bit more again. And the last one, spending a day in quiet reflection, like either writing in a journal or meditating by yourself. Okay. I hope this has helped you a little bit with checking in with yourself. Maybe you've noticed a theme based on the activities that you I shared. But the one part that I love about the difference between introversion and extroversion is that Susan Cain, the author of Quiet, which is a really great book if you're an introvert, highly recommend to read it, talks about introverts when they wake up in the morning, they have 5 coins. And with every social interaction, they spend a coin. So at the end of the day, they feel depleted if they are around a lot of people. So if you're going to a networking event and you're an introvert, you will be spending a lot of coins, and by the end, you'll feel depleted and therefore drained. If you're an extrovert, you wake up with no coins, and every social interaction, you gain a coin. So at the end of a networking event, you might be rich because you had so many social interactions, you feel more energized. And I think that's one definition that I definitely really enjoy more than the typical introvert being shy and quiet. The other thing that I would love for us to take a moment to think about right now is, so if introvert is just the only way to, if being introverted is the main reason why we think somebody's quiet, I'm sure there's other reasons why somebody could be quiet, right? And I want you to take a moment right now and think of at least 5 other reasons. And if you want to, you can take a pen, take a paper, and just write down a couple of things for yourself, because in a moment, I'm actually going to send you to a breakout room and give you an opportunity to compare your list with each other. Okay, I see there's a bunch of people writing on the next slide yet already. Let that there for a moment. We'll get there once you come back from the breakout room. So take a moment right now to just write down a couple of reasons why somebody could be quiet in your session. And then I'll let you know before we open up the breakout rooms, and you'll be in groups of like 3 or 4 people. Okay, I hope that you have a few notes. I got the breakout rooms all set up, so give me a quick thumbs up if you're good to go. And the way we'll do it is you'll have to accept your invitation to the breakout room. In case you're in a room by yourself, we'll kind of shuffle some people around so you for sure have a couple of people to talk to. Just hang on for a moment while we do that if you end up in a room by yourself. Okay, and then when I bring you back, would love to hear the reasons, and then we'll share some tips on how to actually engage these quiet people that you came up with. Okay, here I'll share the instructions in the chat for you as well, and then you'll be able to add some of your answers already to Butter Scenes when you're ready. Okay, we'll see you in a couple minutes. You should see a pop-up inviting you to a room right now. Okay. I think, Jessica, for you, just if there is, and I'm just checking if there is any room with like only one person.
Yep, I can drop in. I think I can also see the most of the rooms seem to be between 3 and, oh no, do you want me to join the ones which are, like, I'll join 16, maybe.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna move Tina to room 13.
Did you get some thoughts now?
We'll combine those.
I think everyone is all good. Should I delete 16?
It's okay.
That was such a nice activity. I like how you're like the calmness of the session. Mhm.
Yeah, and for anybody who's still here in the main room and you didn't join a breakout room, that's totally okay. Just hang out here with us. But if you want to chat, just turn on your camera or mic and let us know. And that gives me a chance to ask you a question, Cheska. I assume because both of us are collaborators in the Butter Scenes, you can advance it too, right?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay.
Was it there was one point where I think it flipped back. That was.
Yeah, I think it went forward a little bit too early, and then I was like, did I press it by accident? But I think,
No. That was
okay.
might have I'm so sorry. I'll put in, I was recording earlier when you were doing the movement exercise. I'll send it to you now. Slack is actually really nice. Was there anything that people shared today that sort of surprised you? Or
Sorry,
everything was
I'm having a hard time hearing you with Jacob in the background.
That might be Chris this time. Now?
Or somebody
Better?
else?
Better now? Still?
No.
I was just saying that basically, earlier I was recording the exercise where people were moving visually. It was really nice. And then also, was there anything that people shared in the room today, which was sort of surprising to you, or everything was sort of things that you? I need to pick up the book that you mentioned, Quiet. I want to.
Yeah, because it's a very personal thing. Like, I can only say where I would put myself on that spectrum. But like the goal ideally is that everybody's divided over like the whole spectrum. But I think I noticed there were a lot more introverts or introvert leaning people in this group. That's why we all moved.
Which was surprising for me. And also it was a bit more, no, because I feel like generally facilitators strike me as a bit more extroverted because it's a function of their job. They need to be with groups all the time. So I think I also underestimate that a lot of them are very much introverted. I mean, the reflective part is not anything new. I think a lot of, at least based on what we see, it's like they're very thoughtful and intentional, but
yeah. I'm going to bring everyone back.
Yes.
And okay, we'll give everyone a moment to join us back here. If you're here already and you haven't shared your answers, I'm going to invite you to click the link or update your Butter Scenes. Okay, I think this is looking good. We're coming back in the main room. Please join the Butter Scenes again and add some of your reasons that you discussed in the breakout rooms. If you see anybody else's reason that you're like, oh, I had exactly the same one, you can also give it a reaction by clicking the little emoji on top of it. And I'm reading lots of answers here already that are very common. People needing thinking time, the energy level. Ooh, past workshop trauma. So another one that I'm reading. Bad mood. Fatigue. Yeah, they just had a fight with their wife. They could just be distracted. Afraid of being judged. They're neurodivergent. There's different ways of processing. Anxiety. Right. I've actually done this workshop or asked this question in lots of different settings. And the surprising thing is that every time there's a new reason that I didn't think of previously. I've actually done this in person too, where I started writing the first time I did this, I started writing them on a flip chart. And very quickly I filled up a whole flip chart with almost 100 different reasons why people could be quiet. And I guess the question for you is, so what now? If there's so many different reasons, what are we going to do? So I'm going to invite you in the chat, or actually in this next Butter Scenes, to share, is there a strategy that you witnessed either me doing today or maybe somebody else in any of the Butter Scenes workshops, if you attended them, that helped include and engage not only the loud people, the usual suspects, but also the quiet people. And I'll share as it's coming in. But yeah, take a moment to write something in the Butter Scenes, and then I saw somebody's hand go up. I would love to then also hear from a few people.
I think Teresa and David were about to share some comments.
Yeah, give me 1 second. And for this part, if this is the first time, which I just learned today, that you're using this board, if your submission is covering somebody else's sticky note, feel free to move it on the side. I think you're the ones who can move it. But there's some great tips in here. I would love to also hear from a few people who want to speak. And if you've written something there, even better. That way you can elaborate a bit more. So whoever had their hands up, Teresa, go ahead.
Yeah, I also wrote it there. So I think when you look for the 5 volunteers at the beginning and you explicitly said, if you're one of those that always raises their hand first, then don't. So you kind of already brought awareness that there's people behaving like that, and for people to self-reflect, are you that? So you didn't call out, you let people, you call in.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that. So making sure that there's an invitation for also not only the quieter people to step up, but for maybe, and I don't always like to call people quiet and loud and putting labels on people, but for this explanation, making sure that the louder people have some kind of rules in place, that they take a step back, and in the end we all share that same space. Yeah, feel free to click the raise hand if anybody else wants to speak. In the meantime, I'm also going to look at some of those suggestions and see if I have some follow-up questions. Using chat, not just the microphone, right? Giving people flexible ways of sharing ideas would be similar. So you could unmute, even right now, you could share on the board, you could unmute, providing time to reflect. I think this is also speaking to the reason that somebody said some people need time to think. And I want to say that there's probably 2 types of people. You're either a person, when you hear a question, you're like, oh, let me think about my answer first. And then when you're like, okay, I think I have an answer, then you raise your hand and you're ready to contribute. And then there's the kind of opposite type of person they hear the question like, oh, I think I know what I want to say, but I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to raise my hand and then figure it out once I start talking. Oh, that's actually what I want to say. And again, you could be somewhere on either spectrum, but if all we do is invite people to unmute and never give time for that reflection, then that first person never gets a chance to contribute. By the way, a great way to apply this, if I can add a tip on top of that, is giving people time to write down an answer, if it's in person, on paper, on a sticky note, or even on the chat virtually, then giving them a chance to share in a breakout room with a smaller group, and only as a third round, bring them back and then ask people to unmute. And maybe even the way I'm doing it right now, if I saw an interesting answer on the board, I could invite that person to elaborate because I already know they have something valuable to share. So anytime you do at least 2 of the different ways people are sharing their thoughts and ideas, you're going to get more people to opt in. Tatiana, I see you have your hand up.
Hi, Jan. Yes,
Hello.
I wanted to add that I have learned that when I ask my students at the university a question, to be very comfortable waiting quietly for more than the number of seconds I would normally be comfortable waiting before chiming in. And I'll just usually say, I can wait, give you guys some time to think. And the second thing is, I'll give a number of people I'm looking for, say for exit notes at the end of the class. I'll say, I'd love to hear from 7 of you, and then we'll close out the class with your thoughts. So it just gives people like a better clue what I'm looking for. And I found those 2 things helpful, just being comfortable with longer periods of silence and giving some specifics, numbers to close things out.
Yeah, nice. I like it. I think setting expectations is really big, especially if your group is usually used to, like in a webinar style, just sit there and listen with their camera off passively, maybe use the chat, and then you want to use breakout rooms and make it interactive. You're going to have a hard time getting anybody to even turn their camera on. And because they were like, well, I'm in my pajamas, I'm folding laundry. Like, do you expect me to show my face right now? Don't surprise people with that. And actually, talking about cameras off, I would love to end with one little experiment. We have like another 3 minutes. For this experiment, I would need 2 volunteers. So if you were like in the beginning sitting on your hands, maybe this could be your chance to jump up and participate. And I'll just have you do one really simple thing, which is get me to turn on my camera. And you can say whatever you want. I want to give you one last tip on this topic, engaging everyone. But I need 2 volunteers. Raise your hand if you're willing to volunteer, if you have an idea on how to get me to turn on my camera, or your participants. Kathleen, perfect. Maybe one more. And if nobody else shows up, we will just use the chat for extra support. And if anybody else finds an idea, they can do it as well. Thank you, Kathleen. You're unmuted, right? I can hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah, hello. I do quite a lot of online work, so I actually have a slide at the very start with, please, if you can, turn on your cameras and just.
Well, actually, we're gonna play this through. I'm gonna turn off my camera, well, pretend to have it off, and I want you to actually do the same thing you do in your session, and let's see if it works. And if anybody has another idea, yeah.
You know, if you can, we'd ask that you turn on your cameras. It can be very lonely just talking to blank squares. So it's great to be able to gauge your reaction by seeing your faces and having your cameras on.
Okay, unfortunately, you did not say yet what I'm looking for.
Oh,
so
right.
I'm going to see if somebody else wants to come in. I see Andrea. Let's see. But thank you so much for that. It was very close. I'm going to say that. Andrea, I don't see your camera on, so I can't bring you up on the spotlight, but
I'm gonna
there
try.
you are.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and ask you that this is a very important day for me, and I would like to have a picture with you making this announcement. So if you can please turn on your camera for a few seconds so I can take a screenshot or a selfie with you, that would be great. And then you can just close it off if you feel like it.
Oh, I really want to turn it on, but in the purpose of this activity, unfortunately, I have to say, no, it was not the right answer yet. Let's see. Krishna, we got Chris.
Yes, hi, Jan. Jan, remind me, what are the 2 of us talking about on this call today? What are the 2 of us talking?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm in role play mode because that's what you're asking for. Jan, can you just remind me, what are the 2 of us talking about today? What will be helpful?
What would be helpful for us talking about today?
Yeah, so you would say something, and this is what I do with my team. I say, right, to have that conversation effectively, it's easier if we can see each other, or would you be more comfortable with me turning mine off? And then usually the team member turns theirs on. So complete psychological safety to go where the person wants. 9 out of 10 it works.
I'm going to turn it on because I really love this tip. And I think it probably works most of the time. It still was not what I was looking for, which I'll share. But thank you so much for our 3 volunteers. Give them a round of applause. The specific thing I was looking for is, well, what's in it for me? Because very often as facilitators, we want cameras on so we get energy, we can see people's facial reactions. Only the focus is on us, but why do participants care about that? So if anybody has a reason for why participants should be turning on the camera and what they get from it, put that in the chat. But because it's at the end of this session, I think, we already did that experiment. I just wanted to share one last thing, which is I have a guide that I created called How to Avoid Crickets in Online Meetings, because crickets is when you ask a question, nobody wants to volunteer, nobody wants to speak. Like in a session where you don't have the loud people, that could happen. And you can get that if you subscribe to my newsletter, which we'll drop a link in the chat. But thank you so much for joining this. I know there's lots more fun sessions happening today, so you might see me in there as well. And yeah, thank you, Cheska, for creating this tool and making this happen.
This was really amazing. I think we all learned some tips, Jan. So thank you, and thanks to everyone for sharing all the insights that you did this all. I think there's a lot of things that we can all go through in the boards with your sticky notes and stuff. So we'll be sharing that after. And as I mentioned, we're also live on Product Hunt today, so please give us support there. Connect with Jan on LinkedIn, and we hope to see you in the next session. Thank you, everyone, for your energy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.